The Last Loaves, Episode 2, The Festival of Vulcanalia. My back is absolutely killing me tonight. We had the busiest day at the bakery in weeks. Everyone wanted fresh bread for tomorrow's festival. Speaking of which, let me tell you about the day before Vulcanalia, September 22nd. The day I discovered that teaching someone to bake festival bread is only slightly less dangerous than teaching them to juggle fire. Also, the day I may have fallen completely head over heels for someone I'd never even spoken to. September 22nd, 79 CE. Today was supposed to be simple. Bake extra bread for the Vulcanalia festival tomorrow, teach Titus some basic shaping techniques, maybe get to bed at a reasonable hour for once. Instead, I spent half the day preventing my apprentice from burning down the bakery, and the other half trying not to make a complete fool of myself in front of the most beautiful girl in Pompeii. But let me start at the beginning. Titus has been with us for a week now, and I have to admit, he's improving rapidly. The kid went from flower explosion disaster to only moderately chaotic in record time. This morning, he actually managed to knead an entire batch of dough without getting more flour on himself than in the mixing bowl. Progress. The problem came when I decided to teach him about festival bread. See, tomorrow is Vulcanalia, the festival of Vulcan, god of fire and forge. It's held on September 23rd every year, and it's kind of a big deal around here. People light bonfires, throw fish and small animals into the flames as offerings, and basically ask Vulcan to keep their houses from burning down during the hottest part of summer, which, when you think about it, is pretty smart. August in Campania is brutal. Everything's dry as bone, and one spark can take out half a neighborhood. For bakeries, Vulcanalia is both a blessing and a curse. Blessing because everyone wants fresh bread for the festivities. We'll probably sell twice our usual amount. Curse because we're literally asking the fire god to be nice to us while working with massive ovens all day. It's like holding a festival for Neptune while sailing through a storm. Anyway, Uncle decided we should make special festival loaves, bigger than usual, with honey worked into the dough and shaped into little flame patterns. Very fancy, very festive. Very complicated for someone who just learned to knead properly last week. Marcus, Uncle announced this morning, teach the boy to make the Vulcanalia flames. If we're going to honor the fire god, our bread should look like actual fire. I looked at Titus, who was standing there with flour in his hair again, looking eager and slightly terrified. Right. Flame-shaped bread. How hard can it be? Famous last words. The first attempt looked more like a deformed fish than a flame. The second looked like... well, I'm not sure what it looked like, but it definitely wasn't appropriate for a religious festival. By the third try, Titus was getting frustrated. I was running out of patience, and we had flour everywhere. I don't understand, Titus said, staring at his latest creation. It looks perfect when you do it. I picked up another piece of dough and started shaping it, trying to slow down so he could see the technique. It's all about the twist at the base, then you pull upward in layers like actual flames licking upward from a fire. Oh, his face lit up, like the flames on the altar at the temple of Jupiter. Exactly like that. His next attempt was actually pretty good. Not perfect, but definitely flame-like. I was about to congratulate him when we heard shouting from the street outside. Fight! Fight in the square! Nothing stops work in Pompeii faster than the promise of a good brawl. Titus dropped his dough and ran to the window. I followed, because honestly I was curious too. What's happening? Titus asked, craning his neck to see over the crowd that was already gathering. Looks like two wine merchants arguing over stall placement for tomorrow, I said, squinting at the commotion. Probably about who gets to set up closest to the fountain. The fountain in our square is prime real estate during festivals. Everyone needs water, and people are more likely to buy your goods if they don't have to walk far after a long drink. Wine merchants especially covet those spots. Nothing makes people thirsty for wine like being thirsty for water first. Should we go watch? Titus asked hopefully. I was about to say no, we had bread to finish, when I spotted her. Standing near the fountain, completely ignoring the fight, was a girl about my age, with dark hair twisted up in a simple but elegant style. She was wearing a light blue stola that brought out her eyes, and she was examining the wine amphorae at one of the stalls with the focused attention of someone who actually knew what she was looking for. Marcus? Titus waved a hand in front of my face. Marcus, you're staring. I'm not staring, I lied, unable to look away. I'm observing the situation for safety reasons. Safety reasons, Titus repeated, grinning. Right, that's why you haven't blinked in the past minute. The girl selected an amphora, spoke briefly with the merchant, and handed over some coins. Even from our window, I could see her smile when the merchant said something that was apparently amusing. She had a great smile. Who is she? I heard myself ask. How would I know? I've been here for a week and I've spent most of it covered in flour. Fair point. The fight was breaking up. The local vigiles had arrived and were separating the wine merchants with the practiced ease of people who dealt with market disputes daily. The girl picked up her wine and started walking in our direction. Without thinking, I headed for the door. Where are you going? Titus called after me. To check on the situation, I said lamely. The situation that's already over? There might be lingering situation. I could hear him laughing as I stepped outside. The girl was closer now, and even more beautiful than she'd looked from the window. She walked with confidence, like someone comfortable in her own skin. When she noticed me standing there like an idiot, she smiled politely. Exciting morning, she said, gesturing toward where the fight had been. Oh, that, I managed. Yeah. Wine merchants. They get passionate about fountain proximity. She laughed. Actually laughed. And it was even better than her smile. My father says wine merchants are the most dramatic people in any market. More dramatic than actors, because at least actors know they're performing. Your father sounds wise, I said, my brain finally starting to function. Is he in the wine trade too? He runs the Caecilius wine shop, she said, pointing to one of the larger establishments near the forum. I was just picking up some of our special reserve for tomorrow's festival. Caecilius wine shop. I knew it. Good reputation, fair prices, and they always had the best selection of both local and imported wines. If she was Caecilius's daughter, that explained the confident way she'd examined the amphorae. She'd grown up around wine. I'm Livia, she said. Marcus, I replied, then immediately added, I work at my uncle's bakery. Right there, I pointed behind me like an idiot. The one with the excellent panis quadratus, she asked. We buy bread from you sometimes. My heart did a little skip. She knew our bakery. She'd eaten our bread. That's us, I said, probably grinning like a fool. We're making special festival loaves for tomorrow. Flame-shaped for Vulcan. That sounds lovely, she said, and seemed to mean it. I should get this home. The wine needs to breathe before tomorrow. But perhaps I'll stop by your stall tomorrow. I'd love to try one of those flame loaves. Yes, I said way too enthusiastically. I mean, that would be nice. Great, excellent. She smiled again and continued down the street. I stood there watching her go until Titus appeared at my elbow. So, he said cheerfully, how did checking on the situation go? Shut up, I muttered, but I was still smiling. She's pretty, he observed. She's beautiful, I corrected automatically, then realized what I'd said. I mean, she seems nice, pleasant, good customer relations. Oh, is that what we're calling it? I cuffed him gently on the head, and we went back inside to finish the festival bread. But I have to admit, my shaping technique was a bit off for the rest of the morning. I kept thinking about her smile, the way she'd laughed at my stupid joke about wine merchants, the fact that she might actually come to our stall tomorrow. Livia, even her name was perfect. The rest of the day passed in a blur of bread making and festival preparations. Uncle was in full dramatic mode, proclaiming each loaf a work of art worthy of the gods. Aunt Claudia kept making pointed comments about young men who suddenly cared about their appearance. Apparently, I'd been checking my reflection in every shiny surface in the bakery. "It's just bread," I protested when she caught me trying to get flour out of my hair for the third time. She said knowingly, "just bread, for just customers." Titus, meanwhile, had progressed from disaster-prone apprentice to actual helper. By afternoon, he was turning out decent flame-shaped loaves, and his regular bread was nearly indistinguishable from mine. The kid was a fast learner when he put his mind to it. As we worked, he told me about his family back in Nuceria, his father's vineyard, his mother's herb garden, his older brothers who were already married with children of their own. "Were you nervous?" I asked. "Leaving home, coming here?" "Terrified," he admitted, carefully shaping another flame loaf, "but also excited. It's good to learn something new, to prove you can make your own way." I understood that. When I'd first come to live with Uncle after Father died, I'd been scared and homesick and completely overwhelmed by city life. But there's something satisfying about learning a trade, about creating something useful with your own hands. "Do you miss it?" "Home, I mean." He considered this while working. "I miss my family. I miss the countryside. It's quieter there, more space to think. But I like it here too. There's always something happening. Always something new to learn." By evening, we had enough festival bread to feed half of Pompeii. The flame loaves were particularly impressive, golden brown and genuinely flame-like, with honey glaze that caught the light beautifully. Uncle was practically vibrating with pride. "Tomorrow," he announced, "we will honor Vulcan with bread worthy of the gods themselves." "Tomorrow," Aunt Claudia corrected, "we will hopefully not burn anything down while trying to impress the fire god." As I write this, I can hear the sounds of festival preparation all over the city. People are setting up stalls, decorating their shops, preparing offerings for tomorrow's ceremonies. There will be bonfires in the main squares, processions to Vulcan's shrine, and enough fish throwing to make Neptune jealous. I should be thinking about tomorrow's baking schedule, about managing our festival stall, about whether we have enough bread to meet demand. Instead, I keep thinking about Livia, about her laugh, her smile, the confident way she moved through the market, about the possibility that she might actually come to our stall tomorrow, might try our festival bread, might smile at me again. Titus is already asleep, mumbling something about flame-shaped dreams. Tomorrow he'll get his first taste of festival chaos, the crowds, the noise, the constant pressure of a busy market day. I remember my first festival working the bakery stall. It was overwhelming but exhilarating. The mountain looks particularly beautiful tonight, Vesuvius silhouetted against a sky full of stars. The air is still and warm, perfect weather for tomorrow's outdoor festivities. Sometimes I think we're lucky to live in such a beautiful place, with the sea on one side and the mountain on the other. Tomorrow should be a good day. Festival bread, happy customers, maybe a conversation with a certain wine merchant's daughter. What could go wrong? I should sleep. Dawn comes early, and festival days are always our busiest. Livia. Gods, I was completely smitten from that first conversation. What could go wrong? Past me was adorably naive. I had no idea that in exactly 2 days, the beautiful, peaceful mountain I was admiring would bury everything I cared about under tons of ash and rock. But that morning, the morning of Vulcanalia, for a few perfect hours I was just a young baker, excited about a festival and nervous about seeing a girl again. That was the last completely normal festival we ever had. All right, enough reminiscing. These old memories have a way of keeping you up all night if you let them. End of episode 2. Next time on The Last Loaves, festival fire and strange fish. The Vulcanalia celebration begins with joy and romance, but something's not quite right in the harbor. Why are all the fish floating belly up? And what's that strange smell in the air?